Welcome, new and old friends. I just have a couple things to say, and then the stories will begin. Before you drift off into the dream realm, please remember to like, subscribe, share, and comment. If you'd like to find out about my social links, my website, how to help the channel, check the description box. Now turn off your lights, make sure your doors and windows are locked. It's time to dream. Just listening to my book by Elemental Madness. Hey everyone, this glitch in the Matrix happened to me maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and I have been intending on sharing this story. But it's honestly hard for myself to even wrap my head around this, and I was the one who experienced it. And the shyness led to inaction, which led to forgetfulness. Anyway, I have an access of free time and was thinking about this event. Thought I might as well put it out there. I listen to audiobooks very actively. I use some round-the-neck Bluetooth earbuds. You won't see me without these things around my neck. I like them for their functionality. Just press the button and resume the book. Press it again to pause. No need to go fetch my phone out. I was packing up my laptop and other things after work. I received a call that I had been waiting for. One of those calls you back instead of waiting things. And I answered it originally with my Bluetooth headset. But it was an automatic system needing actual phone keys input. So I took my phone out of my pocket and put in the necessary information, then continued to pack up my stuff and leave. Got in my car, put my bag and carry case in the passenger seat, spoke with a rep for maybe about 5 minutes, then completed that call. Once the call was completed, my audiobook resumed playing as it should. I started up my car, drove home, unwinding for my day. Listening to a book is my favorite thing to do. I don't live terribly far from work, maybe 12 miles. After getting home, I started preparing dinner while continuing to listen to my book. When I heard the sound of my phone, it gained another call, interrupting my listening experience. I pressed the button on the headset to answer the call and said hello. Can't see who's calling when you answer the phone like this. I hear my coworker's voice. They seem a little confused. They say my name. I say their name back. Then there's a bit of an awkward silence. I begin to wonder at the possibility of what might have happened since leaving the office. And I ask, "Is everything alright? Something going on?" And they asked, "Well, are you still here?" I say, "No, I'm now home, but I have the laptop if you need help with something. What's going on?" And my coworker says, "Well, I seen that there was a cell phone on your desk and I thought you might have left it, so I called you and it rang. I thought you had left it, but you answered the call." We were both silent then. One moment, I was in the middle of chopping up some carrots and thinking about switching gears into work mode. Then I had to dedicate my brain power to what my coworker just said. As an intelligent adult human being, my response was elegant and direct. "Huh?" More silence. Coworker, "I'm looking at your phone on your desk, showing our call active right now." I moved my hand down to the pocket I keep my phone in and gave it a trusty pat to check, only to find my phone pocket empty. As my hand is resting on my empty pocket, I start saying, "That can't be right. Bluetooth doesn't have that kind of range." Only to then have the call disconnect. The Bluetooth headset gave the beep beep of trying to find the device it's paired to. Beep beep, beep beep. Then the Bluetooth device powers itself off as it cannot find its paired device or a new device waiting to pair to. I stand in my kitchen for a minute longer thinking about this. It must be some kind of prank or something. My coworker doesn't live terribly far away, but how would they have stayed close enough as I was on the freeway? I try to turn on the headset as I go to my bag to check for my phone. Nothing there. Turn the headset on as I run outside and check in my car. No phone. I'm a tad frustrated at this point, so I hop in the car and drive back to the office. Getting into the office, I head to my work area to find my phone on my desk where I had taken out of my pocket to put in that digital number pad before I had left. Unlock the phone and check the call history to see the call log of my coworker and I's 2-minute and 11-second conversation. I walked over to my coworker's section to talk to him about the call, and upon seeing me, they say, "Oh good, so you were here. You had me pretty freaked out, man." I didn't want the kid to be scared or anything, so thinking fast, I say something like, "Yeah, someone needed my help upstairs with something." Still to this day, I think about this. How was I just interacting with my Bluetooth features on my phone at such a large distance? Recently, here has been a lot of studies about how much of our reality is what we can perceive, and much of our perception is dedicated on what we can predict with our senses. What if my mind was just a prediction that my phone was in my pocket, and because of that, my Bluetooth should be connected, and after the call is complete, my audiobook would just resume playing? Or maybe whoever's watching over my simulation had a major F-up and didn't notice I had left my phone, and was freaked out when I had realized I didn't have it on me. I don't know. It's hard for me to wrap my head around this one. And the triangle goes in the green hole. "Good job, Eva," said Amy with a proud pat on the back. Turning to the colonel, Amy continued, 3 minutes into training, the model has a 2-year-old spectral ability. In 2 hours, this entire floor of Eva's could be mission capable. Traveling Shoe? By Frosty Excitement 355. Shoe story? Glitch? Any other idea? In 2010, my best friend came home from college for spring break, and we decided to go out one night. Our town is tiny and has no nightlife scene, so the closest option for anything after dark is an hour away. Her sister happens to live in the same city where we were going. We left my hometown and drove to her sister's place. Got ready at her sister's home, and then I drove my car to the bar. My friend had an eye infection and was taking meds for it, and was wearing her glasses that night. She was also going through what she calls a weird phase, and did not drink that night. I'm not a heavy drinker, and I was driving, so only had a couple of beers the entire time we were out. So we stayed at the bar for about 5 hours. The city where we were has a naval base, and is not uncommon to meet lots of people who are in the Navy while you're out at this place. So we talked to a few different pairs of guys throughout the night who were in the Navy. At closing time, we had been talking to one set of guys, and they were funny and entertaining, so when we left, we decided to ask them if they wanted to get a late night bite at Whataburger, which is around the corner from the bar. After we all ate, they said they needed to get a cab. Uber wasn't a big thing then, so options were limited to get back to their place. They didn't seem like creeps, so I offered to drive them to where they were staying. One sat up front with me, the other sat in the back seat with my friend. I drove them to where they were staying, they got out, and my friend hopped into the front seat. I drove us to her sister's place, we changed clothes, and went to sleep. Never even saw her sister because she was already asleep when we got there earlier that evening, since she had to work the next day. The next morning after we woke up, we were packing our bags, and my friend could only find one of her shoes that she had worn out last night. We looked over the entire apartment and could not find it anywhere. It should be noted that my friend is very minimalistic in her shoe options. She has 2 pairs of heels and a few more flip-flop/sneaker options. She had been wearing her one black pair of heels that night, and the other pair was 4 hours away in her college town. She was fine leaving with one shoe because she said they were very inexpensive and she could just buy a new pair to replace the lost one. Because I'm me, I can't leave well enough alone, and I'm very bothered that there was a shoe missing. We went and searched my car, the parking spaces beside my car, everywhere. We went to Whataburger and even went to the place where we dropped off the 2 random guys and looked in the parking lot. Still no shoe. After not being able to find the shoe, she said it was okay and that she would just buy a new pair. I was still very bothered by this, but I just dropped it and we drove the hour back to my home, where we had left her car locked in my parents' driveway. Once we arrived, we were saying goodbye and she grabbed her bag from my car and her car keys from my car and walked to unlock her car. While still talking to me outside my home, she unlocked the passenger side of her car and immediately began to freak out and ask how I did it. I obviously was clueless and walked over to her car. We stood there looking at the front passenger seat, and her missing shoe was there. We have absolutely no idea how this happened and have thought about this shoe more than I care to admit. It has consumed my brain for 14 years. We have tried every logical and illogical scenario, and at one point, she was convinced that I played this elaborate prank on her. Well, I thought she had played the prank on me. We have told this story to so many people, and everyone is always baffled. Glitch in the Matrix weren't really as widely known then as they are today, and I'm certain that's what happened. Thoughts? I sat in the hospital and tried to focus on the rhythmic beating of my infant son's heart as I ignored my mother's ranting about government conspiracies. But when I came back later, I heard only silence as our mother smiled and said she unplugged some things to prevent the 5G radiation from spreading. Saw the Same Man Twice by Anonymoose. I've been on the sub for years. I don't usually read much that post, but something just happened and I'm at a loss. About 30 minutes I left to go pick my child up from school. I have 2 toddlers with me, so I plan on stopping by Sonic for drinks and snacks. On the way, I saw a very distinct-looking man, carrying a black trash bag over his left shoulder, walking along the highway heading east. I passed him, pulled into Sonic, ordered, and they bring me the order out rather quickly. I say I was there for maybe 4 to 5 minutes. I hand the food to my kids and get back on that road. I hit the main highway again in about 2 miles, traveling west. I saw the same man with his bag over the left shoulder walking east.
but he's about 2 miles back from the initial spot I saw him in. I've been running through the scenario in my mind and I can't make sense of it. Say he got a ride in the short time I was stopped. Why would he be let out a mile back from where he was only to walk east again? There's no way he traveled back that quickly. He didn't seem out of breath or stressed, just walking rather relaxed, carrying that big bag. I hope this is making as much sense as I can. Does anyone have thoughts or a similar experience? I can't believe this is where I'm turning to for answers, but I can't think of an explanation. I called my husband immediately after, and he joked that it was a glitch in the Matrix, and it's freaky that this is the answer that makes the most sense. I feel like I'm losing my mind.
In the darkness of an abandoned basement sat a rotting corpse. But when it got hungry, it stood up. Sun in the Wrong Position by Amistation Worm 71. This happened a couple of years ago when I first moved to Summit County, Colorado for a job. I lived in Dillon and worked in Silverthorne. For those who don't know, they're right next to each other, pretty much separated by the I-70. Part of my team was going to Silverthorne Rec Center before work for an hour and a half of exercise to get my day going. And for a few months, it was pretty great. Then it got weird when I decided to go on in on an off day. See, it was 10 a.m. by the time I got there, but the sun was directly to my right, meaning to the north. I was parked facing towards Highway 9, which runs north/south, with Loveland Pass to the south and Kemmeling to the north. Check out Google Maps if you need to at this point. It was around March, meaning winter in the mountains was still in full swing, and the sun most definitely should not have been in the north, but in the south due to the seasonal tilt of the earth. I remember being incredibly confused by the state of affairs to the point that I ended up calling my dad to tell him about it. I double-checked the compass on my phone. I verified with Google Maps that I didn't get turned around in the mountains, which is an incredibly easy thing to do if you just moved up there. Sunrise and sunset can be a bit skewed due to the mountains blocking the sunlight. Eventually, I shook my head and got on with exercise. I had tried hallucinogens when I was in college, and the level of confusion that day reminded me of my college trip, although I was stone sober by this point. I didn't like the idea of going crazy, and by the time I walked out of the rec center a couple of hours later, the sun was in the south and in its right place. My only regret is not taking pictures, but damn, it was weird. I was horrified when I recognized my daughter on the other end of the suicide hotline. I rolled my eyes as she ranted, lying about my parenting style, deciding to punish her later for everything she said about me. Small glitch. Now that I'm paying attention, I realize they're common. By Almost-Jaded. I posted a couple weeks ago about my latest parallel dimension experience. I've been reading here more and thinking a lot about all the times I've noticed something change or move or disappear, etc., and just wrote it off. But now, I'm paying attention. I was at SAC Animated this last weekend. The booth next to us had a larger, higher-end portable speaker playing music. It had a really terrific sound for a portable, and I'm an auto guy, so I took note of it. It was a larger black disc shape with folding stand part to support it, with a woofer part in the back. Really trick design. So engineering. Much impressed. The JBL logo was promptly placed in the center of the speaker grill in gold. I wanted to get one of these, so I know that it was JBL so I could look it up later. A few hours later, the conversation's in full swing. I'm chatting up the ladies in the booth when things are slow. They ask if their music is too loud and interfering with our sales. I say no, and comment that I really like their speaker. I look over at it again. Right in the middle of the speaker grill, in gold letters, is the brand of manufacturer. Harman Kardon. I asked if they brought another speaker or switched them, and they said no and looked at me funny. It never changed back all weekend. I looked over at it constantly. What's interesting about this particular glitch is that HK owns JBL, and they do badge and engineer or platform share things a lot. So it's entirely conceivable that any given product in their customer lines could be wearing either logo. But this one changed for no apparent reason, and I noticed. All the women in my family die at the age of 24. And as I begged my mother-in-law to drive me to the hospital 2 hours before my 24th birthday, she denied and insists that I'm overreacting. We are having a natural birth at home. My dog appeared outside, and I have no idea how. By Ambitious Thread. So prior to the experience, I didn't even know what a true glitch in the Matrix was, but I'm now convinced that this is exactly what I experienced. The title is pretty much exactly what happened. My house has a front door and a back door. The back door leads onto a porch, and the porch door opens up to the backyard. My yard isn't fenced, so my dog goes outside via a tether attached to a tree. She's never out there without supervision. My house isn't a large house, and you can hear the various closet, pantry, bedroom, doors open and shut from pretty much anywhere in the house. My dog, Church, is a sweet and rambunctious Belgian Malinois/Hound mix. She isn't a bad dog. She's only 2.5 years old, and she is not a quiet girl. She is talkative and just generally noisy when she walks, always carrying a toy and squeaking it or tearing through the house or speaking her mind and demanding breakfast. I tell you this so you can have a better idea of why I'm 100% certain that the events of this morning transpired as follows. 2 nights ago, my boyfriend slept over. I have a roommate, but tonight she was sleeping at her boyfriend's place. So we had the house to ourselves. This is not out of the ordinary. My boyfriend and I stay at each other's houses often. Church sleeps in bed with me/us, and I sleep with my bedroom door shut. My bedroom door has a wooden sign on it that clunks against the door when you open it, and the clunk can be heard from the bathroom. I woke up, as is my usual routine, at about 6:15 a.m. and got out of bed at 6:30. My boyfriend loves Church and is typically the one who puts her out/brings her in the mornings. So they usually cuddle in bed while I make the coffee/tea and pack our lunches. I left my room, shut the door behind me. I went into the bathroom, which is just a few steps away, and shut the bathroom door as well. I was brushing my teeth when I heard the familiar clunk of my sign on my bedroom door open, and I heard the door shut. I then heard my boyfriend walking down the hallway into the living room.
I did not hear the dog walking, and I did not hear the back door open. A few minutes later, as I was doing my hair, I heard my boyfriend go in and out of my bedroom again. Still, no puppy footsteps, no back door opening, just my boyfriend carrying out his typical morning routine. Now would be a good time to note that I have hardwood floors. I would have heard her feet on the floor and her collar jangling. It is not possible for her to sneak past me. I left the bathroom at around 6:40 a.m. and found my boyfriend putting his shoes on at the front door. He let me know that he needed to leave because he had forgotten something at home and needed to grab it from his house before leaving for his job. We said goodbye, and he headed out. I headed into the kitchen to pack my lunch. At around 6:50 a.m., I heard whining. I stopped and said to myself, "Shit, I need to let the dog out." I walked to my room. As I was walking, I was even talking to myself. "I'm so sorry, lady. Your dad usually lets you out in the morning." I opened the door and found nothing. My room was totally empty. My boyfriend had fixed his side of the bed up as normal, but Church was nowhere to be found. Confused, I looked outside, unlocked the top and the bottom lock of the back door, went out into the porch, and there she was, tethered, unsupervised, and whining to be let in for breakfast. I was absolutely shocked. It's not like my boyfriend at all to leave her outside, ever, especially without telling me or letting her in before he leaves. He just wouldn't do that. And again, there was no way that Church could have made it through the bedroom door, past the door, through the kitchen, and out the back door without me hearing it. It's especially impossible for them both to make it past me. But I started to doubt myself, and as my boyfriend has never lied to me before, I decided to ask him. I just wanted to understand what happened. So, imagine my surprise when I confronted him about leaving the dog outside, and he was generally confused as to what I was talking about. Me. I don't understand why you didn't tell me Church was outside. Boyfriend. What do you mean? She was in your room on the bed when I left. I double checked before I went to put my shoes on that she was all good. Me. But she was outside this morning. Boyfriend. I have absolutely no idea how that happened because she was in your room when I left. I would never put her outside and leave her out there without telling you. And I'm sure I've stressed this enough, but there's just isn't a way that my dog could have made it past me. I would have heard her. At the very least, I would have heard the back door open and shut, and the back door was locked, just like it was the night before. My boyfriend never locks the door behind him when he plans on going back outside in just a few minutes to let her in. He knows how important my dog is to me, and that this is not something he would do as a prank or a joke. He knows I hate them and has never tried to do anything remotely pranky before. I'm truly at a loss. My dog seems normal. Everything else about my house seems normal. She just appeared outside. I really hope this never happens again. I don't believe in ghosts either. I told my new midwife as I laid in bed, feeling my little one kicking inside me. I enjoyed talking to my midwife until she turned around to get her purse, revealing that her entire back of her skull was missing. Has anyone ever experienced wall changing colors?
by lunekko. Hi guys. Something weird happened this weekend, and I want to know if anyone has a similar stories. Couldn't find anything searching the sub. My boyfriend's family have this house on this countryside where me and my boyfriend like to go spend the weekend like every 2 or 3 months. Ever since the first time I went to this house, my boyfriend's room had its wall painted light green. Although the shade of green is pretty light, it's dark enough so you can distinguish it from other colors, especially white. Last month I went to this house again, and the walls on his room were now fully white. I instantly realized it was looking different and said to my boyfriend that his room looked way better that way with the white walls. My boyfriend looked at me like I was crazy and said, "What are you talking about? They've always been this color." I'm already used to him not paying attention to anything. He has severe ADHD, so it's not weird that he never knows before. So I said that his room was green before. He denied, and then I showed him on my phone a picture of him inside the room with green walls. He laughed about his lack of attention to the world around him, and that was that. We spent the whole weekend there, and during that time, we slept in his room, now with the white walls. Now, last weekend, his parents held an event there, and I go there early to help with the preparations. As soon as I enter his room, the walls were painted light green again. I asked him if his father asked someone to paint the walls again, and one more time, he said his walls had always been that color. I said that the last time I was there, the walls were painted white, but maybe his dad painted them white and painted them green again. He assured me that those walls were not painted again in a long time because he could still see stains that had always been there. It's true, I could see the old stains and marks too. I then mentioned that we already had this exact same conversation last time I was there, but with the white walls. And he remembered it right away. I said that maybe his dad changed the light bulb, but he was 100% sure that no one did such a thing. Although my boyfriend's memory is not that reliable, I do believe no one painted the walls again or changed the light bulbs. Even if someone did, last month I could still see the room white with only the sunlight that came in from the windows. And there were indeed very old stains in the wall, things like marks where the bed used to touch the wall and little dots from killed insects. My boyfriend didn't care that much about the occurrence. He said it was weird and moved on. I saw many stories here about objects going missing, but never came across something like this. Has anyone here ever experienced a similar event? After my abusive grandpa died, I went to my grandma's house in the Bay Area to help clear away his stuff. He still had control over her because when I went into his old truck and found a handgun and a bunch of zodiac symbols, she turned pale and said we weren't allowed to discuss it. The glitching tattoo that went for a walkabout by Anonymoose. My forearm has a line of individual symbols that represent a specific time in my life with people I was once very close to. We all are still friends, but you know how life can get in the way of frequent hangouts as we get older. And I just realized the tattoo turns 10 in July, if that matters. Each of these symbols are plain black lines, nothing fancy. Think the long idea of a simple heart, square, circle kind of deal. There are more than 3 though. Each had the symbol that represented ourselves colored in, and kept it very simple by going in order of age. The oldest has the first mark colored in, next oldest has the second, third has the third, and so on. Our group had a wide age range, the oldest being 7 years senior to the next in line, the closest gap being 5 years apart. It's not like we were talking about a few months or a handful of years apart. I'm pretty darn confident on my own age and where I am in the lineup. I'm not deep in the middle child zone either. The one that represented me, the only colored one, had changed location. So obviously, I made a few calls. No one else had noticed a change on theirs, sent out a picture of mine. The person I swapped with reports their color ink faded out within the last few years. They only had the black lines. Cue the confusion amongst the group. It's agreed that this would have been noticed the day we all got them, or at some point over the last decade. My friends are not as open to this sort of subject, so it's just been left as how weird we never realized. This would not be my first glitch, nor will it be the first time. I rather believe my memory is slipping. However, just like the glitch that got me believing, it feels like I have witnesses. Why are they just as confused if it was only my memory? And that's what brings me here to share. At 1 second past midnight, with the streets and pharmacies so overcrowded with people, the new wonder drug that would let you recall any memory since birth, the pill called Forget It Not, was released. At 5 minutes past midnight, the suicide prevention telephone service crashed due to exceeding massive call volume. Lost AirPods found after 2 years. By IrrelevantTrash. I lost my AirPods about 2 years ago, just the individual buds, both of them, but I still kept the case hoping I might find the earbuds again. This was in early 2022 and it's now 2024, but I still hadn't found them, so I was thinking about selling or throwing out the case. Just yesterday, I was laying in bed, but I felt something cold on my foot. So I looked down, and there is the left earbud. Then I'm super confused at this point because it's been 2 years and I never found it. It wasn't lodged in the bed or anything, and I constantly changed my sheets. I looked around for the right earbud, but it was also right at my foot. Just to make sure they were mine and not some random AirPods. Never bought any since I lost them. I put it into my case from 2 years ago, and it was the correct pair belonging to that case. What's weirder is the case and the left earpods are almost dead, but the right AirPod was mostly charged after 2 years. I'm so confused. But everyone around me didn't really think much of it. Maybe I'm overreacting? Edit. I don't have roommates. I never let anyone borrow them, and I would know if they were stolen. They were not between my mattresses. They were not stuck between my toes for 2 years. But hey, they work. Indefinite AirPod glitch? Edit 2. I wish I could attach images, but somehow I can't. But just to clear up some suspicions, they are not cut up in my sheets, a fitted cover, or any bed sheet/pillowcase. The Find My Phone app also said that my AirPods had no location when I checked them the day before yesterday. The second I found them before reconnecting the AirPods to my phone. Edit number 3. Last edit, because I'm finding this a bit tiring to reply to multiple comments, but no. My mother did not steal the AirPods for 2 years, then order some Chinese knockoffs as a cover out of spite. This sounds very ridiculous, and that is not the case, as the second the AirPods are connected to the internet, my phone would have notified me as I keep pressing the Ring My AirPods function in my Find My Phone. There are no holes in my mattress, comforter, blanket, duvet, covers, sheets, pillows, pillowcases, you get it. I also do not own any pets and never let anyone borrow them outside the house. After an accident that killed my family and left me with amnesia, they gave me an old photo album and told me who I was. I think the accident damaged my eyes. It looks like all the people in the photos have the wrong number of fingers. Okay, this is too many too close together. By Almost-Jaded. This is my third post here in 3 weeks. My previous significant glitches have been years apart. Made an Uber Eats drop last night, not to the same area where I had the dimensional switch, but that's not relevant to this. For the record, I drive for Eats and very intentionally not for the passenger service. Less money, but a lot less frustration and BS. Not to mention a lot less time spending at the airport and the Strip. 2 places that Vegas locals never go to if we can help it. I have never made a single people ride, not one, ever. But I could. I'm approved for passenger service. I just never log into it. So I pull up to the driveway and walk up to the door with the food. Lady answers, immediately a big smile. You gave me a ride from the airport once. I explained that she's probably confused me with another driver. I don't make passenger runs. She proceeds to recount a conversation that could only have been with me. She tips me $10 cash, very high for Eats, and explains that she felt bad for not tipping me before, but she was out of cash at the time, and it was before Uber added online tips. The lady was positive I had given her an Uber ride from the airport months ago. Uber added online tips last August, and recounted a conversation with details that wouldn't apply to somebody else. I've never seen her before in my life, and I never made an Uber airport passenger run or any Uber passenger run in almost 8 months of driving for them. I did take the tip, though. Edit. I'll respond here, but since my latest discovery of Allah, I'm literally not where I should be, see my newest post, this experience doesn't even rank in my brain as being noteworthy. Put another way, I now have a bigger fish to fry. I did, however, log into Uber and check my past rides. There's no records of me ever having had a passenger run. Since I'm reading the stories in the order that they came out originally, the story he's referring to is in the last Glitch in the Matrix story video if you wish to check it out. I don't care who I have to kill, I'll make them regret this, I thought as I rushed my way to the top of this prison. The SeaWorld trainer didn't even have time to react before I had her arm and thrashed her about these waters. Toilet paper appearing by wenchitywrenchwench. This is about as random as it gets, and I apologize for too much information level, but I'll keep it polite. I was about to take a shower and decided to pee while waiting for the water to get warm. Sat down, did so, collected my toilet paper in a good old-fashioned roll and scrunch technique, cleared the field, so to speak, and then stood up to toss the toilet paper in the toilet. And as I turned around, I see a very neatly folded section of toilet paper just sitting on the left side of the toilet seat, towards the middle where I still would have been touching if I had sat back down. And it definitely would have stuck to me when I stood up. It looked to be like 4 or 5 squares neatly folded and flat, just sitting there, clean and undisturbed. I was stunned, and this actually was the 3rd or 4th time that this has ever happened to me in my life, but the first time I couldn't write it off. The other times didn't make sense either, but I had clothes on at the time and was like, maybe I had toilet paper stuck to me for some reason, or maybe it was on the upper side of the lid of the toilet and it fell and I just didn't notice it. Nothing really seemed plausible at the time, but I couldn't count those things out and it freaked me out, so I just made myself shrug it off. Thought I was being a bit paranoid about things sticking to my clothes, unbeknownst to me for a bit. But in this recent scenario, I was in my birthday suit, so there was nothing to cling to or to get stuck on. And I was about to hop in the shower, and the lid was up before I sat down. I had even taken a peek to see how clean everything was because I was making a mental chore list for the day. Not the sexiest glitch, but still very much what the fuck for me. Anyone else ever experienced this? I have zero clue what or why or how. Obligatory edit to include that all my carbon monoxide detectors are functioning normally. I was pissed that my daughter had her phone set to Do Not Disturb again, 2 hours past her curfew, so I used the location tracker to find her myself. Now, I'm staying in an empty alley next to a dumpster where the location tracker has pinged her phone, and I'm honestly too terrified to open the lid and look inside. Mysterious Stalker by Handshot First 5445. I want to start by saying I consider myself a very observant person. I'm horrible with names, but I will remember a face. This is what makes me confident enough to share this story. My wife and I went to Louisiana for her best friend's wedding. It was a long trip from where we lived in upper Midwest, but it was worth it. Her friend's family made us feel so welcome, like we were honestly part of their family. We did the normal wedding stuff, rehearsals and other things, but we also just hung out in general. After the rehearsal, the wedding party and both the bride and groom's families went to eat at this Mexican restaurant. This was a massive party though, so my social battery was dying real quickly. I told my wife I needed to use the bathroom, which I genuinely did, but I also need an excuse to get a quick recharge. Now, this is where it gets unsettling. I did my business and I started washing my hands. That's when this man walked in. I'll never forget how he looked. He was a heavy-set Caucasian dude. He had a close-cropped beard and wore an extremely loud and almost ridiculous cowboy outfit. He came in smiling at me and washing his hands. We exchanged greetings like usual, and then he complimented my shirt. It was a Spider-Man No Way Home shirt. I thanked him, and then he said he loved superheroes too, and that he had a full collection of Christopher Reeve's Superman films at his house. I thought it was a normal thing to boast, but then it hit me that out of all the superhero movies he could have chose, he picked my favorite, Superman. I brushed it off as coincidence and said goodbye. We both walked out, him behind me. As I was walking back to my seat, I suddenly heard the same dude, clear as day, say my name out loud. I spun around since he was right behind me, and he was gone. I looked around and he was nowhere to be seen. It genuinely freaked me out because I never even mentioned my name to him, and it was almost impossible for him to leave the restaurant that quickly. I told my wife, and she chalked it up to coincidence. The rest of the wedding planning went well, but then the reception came around. I was having an absolute blast, not drinking a thing, mind you. I'm underage at the time. When I spot this dude, bald everywhere besides his eyebrows, smiling at me. I stared at him back and considered my last experience. I started making my way towards him. I made it to where he was, and he was gone. I looked everywhere around the party. I counted for every face, and nobody matched. I had chills for a while before trying to shake it off and enjoy the party. Fast forward 3 months later, my wife and I have moved down south to Carolina. We were looking for a place since we were staying with my parents. So we checked out a town that some friends were living at. The town is about 3 hours from my parents. While out eating with them, I went to the bathroom again. As soon as I was done in the stall, I turned the corner of the stall to the sink and almost ran into someone. I looked up, and it was the same man from Louisiana. He wasn't wearing the cowboy outfit, nor did he speak. He just smiled at me, and it wasn't a genuine smile. He smiled only in his mouth. The rest of his face wasn't smiling. I stood shocked and looked at this other dude in there. That's when I realized the other stall was open. He didn't need to wait for my stall. The guy just walked into the stall, still smiling at me. I went back to my seat and told my wife, in which she got the chills. Our seat was in front of the bathroom, so I watched intently to see if he would come out, so I can show her. He never did. I rushed back into the bathroom to see if he was still in there, and the stall was empty. I'm still freaked out by this. It seems almost impossible for someone to follow us that much, literally across states. I'll update this further if anything develops. I don't know who is following me, or if they have good intentions or not. Update. Just had an experience in a bathroom. I went to a stall in a restaurant. While I was going, I hear someone come in. I leave the stall and see them standing in the handicapped stall behind the partition wall. The door to the stall was open, and they were facing the partition wall, not going. They stayed that way until I left the bathroom, just standing there not moving. I never saw their face, just their shoes. Brown leather work boots. Nobody else was in the bathroom. I knew that my gambling debts were now insurmountable, so with deep regrets, I wrote a suicide note and loaded my pistol. My wife's insurance payout should net me just enough to buy into a game where I can win it all back, and I'm betting that the cops won't be able to prove it was me. And now the stories have come to an end. If you're still awake, well, I hope you fall asleep shortly. And the sounds that you're hearing in the background are going to take center stage for no more than 30 minutes to help you fall asleep or stay asleep. But if you are awake and want to hear more stories, I do have playlists for that as well. Sleep tight and don't let 42 bite.